Okay, welcome to another Sailing Doodles podcast. Get right into this one. It's about my new boat. It's an Island Spirit 525E, so it's 52 feet. E stands for electric. That is an option. You can get it with conventional engines if you would like. That's just an option to do. Anyway, so we recently flew to Thailand and I got to film the first video tour on it. So that video is out now, and we already filmed and put out the first sea trial. I'm editing right now the second sea trial, so that video will be out to patrons and channel members pretty soon, in the next day or two, and then it'll be public after that. And then we got to go sail around on it for 5 days in Thailand. So, have those videos coming to you soon. But I wanted to answer all you guys' questions about it. In a podcast, because I know a lot of people have some questions. And so what I did is I posted on Patreon and channel memberships on YouTube. So you can go to patreon.com/sailingduels, become a patron, and next time we'll answer your question. Or just if you're watching this on YouTube, you can go. Well, this is gonna be posted on the podcast, but if you're on the Sailing Doodles channel, you can become a member of that and get the same perks. You get early access to videos. Plus, we've been posting about twice weekly, kind of patron only, channel member only video updates on what's going on. So, like, I'll post one later this afternoon to tell you what we're doing now. We're in the RV. But all right, let me get right into it. All right, first question from a patron, Ed Macedo. It'll be interesting to see how much muck trim I don't know what that means. Moving the batteries forward will accomplish. Not a quick and easy job for ventilating, wiring, and cooling lines to the new location. Yeah, that was a concern that the builders had. They were a little worried that it might be a little aft heavy because there's so much aft. When they first designed the boat, they didn't have things like the dinghy platform on there. They were just going to use davits. So that dinghy platform weighs, 600, 1,000 pounds. I'm not sure how much it weighs. Then it's got the hydraulics for that. And then, all the other ifs and all that stuff. Plus my dinghy is going to be a high field dinghy. It's going to be pretty heavy, about 700 pounds. So they really have to move some weight forward because it is definitely too aft heavy. The aft is probably sitting down 2 to 3 inches lower than the forward, and then the forward, bow is up 2 to 3 inches. So they really need to level the boat. But they're going to move over 1,000 pounds forward. I mean, gosh, they're going to move it 1,000 pounds basically from the very aft end of the boat to the very forward end of the boat, and then add all the dinghy and stuff like that. So I really think they'll have it. They've had the engineering and all that done to recheck it, and they're going to do that. You can kind of see the video tour that I've got playing for you now, if you're just watching this on YouTube. But yeah, I don't know if you can really see it from there, but you can see the bow is definitely a little more forward. Let's see. All right. Glenn Hammock, also a patron. I'm going to be looking forward to seeing you guys in the BVI or the Bahamas for a flotilla in January. All right. Thank you, sir. Jamie Lindeman, moving the batteries forward. Are they going to have to replumb all the cooling lines as well? Looks great. Yeah. Yes. So they've got to run new cabling back to the distribution panel for the batteries and all that, which lives, where does that live? I think that lives under the aft port cabin. So they will have to but it's 400. The battery system is 480 volts, so it is high voltage. But with 480 volts, you can get away with using a lot thinner cable. I mean, if that was 12 volt or something like that, I mean, the cables would be absolutely massive. But 480 volts, they can use a lot smaller cable. And yeah, they will have to do some. I don't know what they're going to do about the cooling system. I haven't talked about that. I don't know if they're going to run. That seems like a long way to run cooling systems. They might do a separate cooling system for the one battery pack they're moving forward. I'm not sure how they're going to address that, but they will do something on that. Okay, another patron, Joe, he's asked, can the solar also charge the motor battery bank? No. And the reason is that you've got almost a 5,000 watt. I think it's like 4,600, 4,700 watt solar bank. I did see up to 4,000 watts on a really sunny day about noon when the sun was directly overhead. I saw the batteries, the solar panels creating 4,000 watts. So, but if you do math so the battery bank, holds 210 kilowatts. And then when your average, say you're doing, so far, the motor's been pretty efficient. So at about 6 knots, I believe it was using about 24 kilowatts. So if you do the math on, with the solar panels run the motors, so just say you're getting 4,000 watts, it's going to take you 5-6 hours to create enough solar for 1 hour of motoring, and that's just not feasible, right? I mean, I guess you could do it, like if you're going to sit for 2 or 3 days, but then you're not. That solar needs to be there for the house bank to run all your systems, like your air conditioner and refrigeration and all that. So say you're making 24,000 watts with your solar panels in a day, which is optimistic, whatever. That's about the size of the house bank, which is 25 kilowatts. You really want to put all that power back into your house bank to run all your systems. So, I mean, like we even can run the air conditioner overnight on it. And during the daytime, the air conditioner system pulls about 1,500 watts. So overnight, say you run it for 10 hours, you're going to use 15,000 watts, which would be, I don't know, 60% of the battery, which it's lithium, so you can do that. And so you need to replenish that the next day using the solar. So no, it's really not feasible to have these solar panels charge the house, the drive bank. I know some of the other manufacturers like Silent and all that are claiming, oh yeah, we can run indefinitely off the solar. I'm like, no, you can't. And plus, oh, it's just ridiculous. I saw a video like on CNBC touting how like Silent Yachts and Sunreef and all that. There's the new boats, and they got these pure solar boats, and just the generators are only for standby or emergency power. I'm like, no, you're not. Are you kidding me? That boat, that 80-foot boat that you made, that it's going to require 50,000 watts to move that boat, and your battery bank's only 150 kilowatts. I mean, come on, that thing it's ridiculous. But anyway, I like the design of this a lot better. All right, we'll hop over to a question from our channel members. Harvey says, how much does it actually take to move the batteries forward on the boat? Okay, so I haven't gone over these, so if they repeat themselves, I'm sorry. Is that something they are going to do on all the boats moving forward, or is it case-by-case basis? Yeah, I think they're going to move it on all the boats. They are going to move that one battery bank all forward to keep the balance on the boat, because I think most people that are going to buy this boat, you're buying a 52-foot high-tech catamaran and all that. You're not going to put a little dinghy on there. You're probably going to get a nice high field with a 40 horse so you can get around your car and all that. You're not going to put a small 10-foot dinghy with a 6 horsepower. I mean, you're probably not going to do that, right? So you need to have more weight forward. Chris McD, will Lauren be your new cat's crew for a while? She has a lot of experience with yachting and will be a great asset for your channel and the new cat. Yes. So she has signed on indefinitely. We're planning on, she's going to join the boat. Hopefully we get the boat in December. It's being delivered to Florida, and then we'll go cruise around. Plus it'll be at the Miami Boat Show. She signed on for all that, and then to keep sailing at least until June of next year. And then we'll kind of see where things are. But yeah, she is signed up for that. All right, another channel member, Buddy Dujisic, whatever. Where in Thailand is the new boat building facility? I live not far from their old facility. Well, specifically, I don't know. It's near Pattaya or Pattaya, however you say it. I couldn't tell you exactly where it is. I really don't know, but it's near Pattaya. It's like 10, I think. I mean, they move to launch the boat. They go to the was it Ocean Marina Yacht Club? I mean, so they have to go down the highway. They do it at like 2 or 3 in the morning when there's nobody there. They shut down some of the roads and they move the boat and they launch it there. So not too far from there, I'm assuming. But I mean, I've been there. I just don't remember where it was. So Brian Lindsay asks, what is your opinion of the self-tacking jib? I found on our Bali that it's difficult to move the stopper cars on the jib track once they are under load. Well, yeah, that's true. I find myself placing the cars further apart than necessary, using a line around the winch to ease and haul the jib car to find trim. Well, I mean, ideally, yeah, you move the jib cars. If you're sailing upwind, you move them in. If you're sailing downwind, you move them out. I really am not a huge fan of self-tacking jibs. I was kind of borderline opposed to it on this boat, but really, they're designing this system for ease of use. So the jib furler is electric, and so is the winch. So it's push button to put it in and out. It's great. And then same with the mainsail. It's push button to put it in and out because it's got the in-mast furling from Selden. The downside of an in-mast or a self-tacking jib is you can only get a small jib out there. So it's a very small jib. I think they are going to maybe try to make. I think they have space to put a slightly bigger jib on there than they did, but they were being conservative with it. They didn't want to, they didn't want to make the sail too big, and then you have to trim it down and all that. So, let me see if I'll kind of try to fast forward to some of this stuff here. But the reason I'm okay with the self-tacking jib is because the boat is going to have I have all downwind sails from it from Precision Sails. So I'm going to have a code. I do have a Code Zero and a furling spinnaker. So if I'm sailing downwind, which I plan to mostly be doing anyway, gentlemen only sails downwind, right? I plan to use those primarily. So I think I got some pictures of it. Yeah, there we go. I got some video of it underway. I'll let that play while we're talking about it. Couple more from our channel members, then we'll go back to Patreon. Is there only one generator on board? Have you considered a second, semi-portable or something like that? Yeah, there's only the one generator on board, and actually they're going to switch it over. So they did have this. They did have a. See, I wish I could find all this stuff. You know what? I'm gonna have to do it in post. I'm gonna go back and I'll have to actually. I try not to edit these too much just so I can get them out faster. But I'm gonna have to go back and edit this video and put the B-roll of the act, because I was just hoping to play the little boat tour video in the background while I'm talking, but it's too difficult to find that section of the video while I'm doing this. So, but anyway, so yes, there is only one generator on board. It probably wouldn't be a bad idea to carry like one of those 2,000 watt Honda generators, in case you need it. Not that would do much good for you, because 2,000 watts. I mean, honestly, I don't even know if that'd be worth it. I mean, I guess if you really had to, but you got sails. I mean, I think no, I don't think having one of those portable generators would even honestly be worth it, because even if you are running 2,000, maybe you get a 3,000 watt one. I mean, it's going to take charging 8 hours before you get 1 hour of motion with the 1 hour of motoring. So I don't think it'd be worth it to do that. And then, I mean, I guess you could have it for the house bank, like if there's no wind or something like that. But then you have the generator. If you're down to, you got sails, right? I mean, if your generator's not working, that's what the sails are for. You can get home or get where you need to be. So yeah, probably not. It probably wouldn't be worth having. All right, James Power. Are you all electric engines, or do you have a diesel engine on one side? So just kind of answering that, it does have a generator. So the generator, so they are switching it. It was just some Chinese bus engine. Actually, that's what the electric motors are, just bus motors. There are like 500,000 of them running around. But they are switching the generator to a Yanmar 110 horsepower for several reasons. I think it's mostly just for maintenance. There's Yanmars all around the world. You can find somebody, you can find the parts, you can find the work on it. So they're going to switch it over to that rather than having, a locally, sourced Chinese engine, which is good. I'd rather have the Yanmar. Yanmar is going to be more expensive, but in the long run, I think it's going to be better. But yeah, so that basically they're going to use a Marinine. It's a 4JH. So it's a marine engine, a Yanmar 110 horsepower turbocharged. And they're pretty bulletproof. So they're going to switch it over to that. Mostly people would use that as a regular motor on a boat. Okay, back over to Patreon. Maxime, how much was it? If you could say, how many gallons of diesel do you store for the generator? So I can't really say how much I paid for. I did pay for it. Basically, I can tell you I'm paying the cost on it, which I can't say how much that was, but it's a lot. But obviously I'm not paying full price for it. I do get, so if you end up wanting one, please, I'll put a link in the description to their contact page. Tell them you saw it on Sailing Doodles. That helps me out. Because I kind of get a referral on it. So that'd be great. So, and how many gallons of diesel do you store for the generator? I believe it holds, is it 1,000? I think it's 1,000 liters. I think it's 1,000 liters to gallons is 265. So it's 265 liters of gallons of diesel, and the generator uses 2.5 to 3 gallons an hour. So you have, right at 100 hours of operation. Is my math right on that? So about 4 days. You can run the generator for about 4 days before you're out of fuel. Which, is pretty typical for a for a boat. You want to be able to go about 4 days on the motor alone. So that's pretty standard. And then that generator will charge the batteries at 55 kilowatts. And so if you really wanted to range extend, what you could do is you could run if you want to go 6 knots on the boat, you're doing about 24, 25 kilowatts is how much power you're using. So you could essentially motor with the generator off for 8 hours doing 6 knots, turn the generator on for another 8 hours, and then you can turn the generator off and motor for another 8 hours. So you can essentially, and then you're just putting cycles on the battery at that point. Like if you really were wanting range extending, you really wanted to save your fuel for some reason, you could do that. You could do basically 16 hours on the batteries a day, 8 hours on the motors, on the generator, and then you would essentially turn that 4 days of motoring into, well, 12. No, yeah, 12, because you're only using the engines a third of the generator a third of the time. So because if you're only using 24 kilowatts and you're charging at 55, so then 55 minus 24 is what, 36. So you have 36 kilowatts going into the batteries. So then you could essentially recharge the batteries even in less than 8 hours, more like 6 hours. So then you could cycle on and off using that. For best practices, I'm not really sure how that is. Depends on how many cycles you're putting on the batteries. If you're not moving the boat very often, but you want to save fuel moving the boat, you can do that. If it just, because I'm not sure how many cycles these batteries can take, but it's something like, I don't know. It's a lot though, several thousand cycles on the batteries to be charging, right? So it's just how you want to treat if you're more worried about burning fuel or saving the longevity of the batteries, but the batteries should last 10 years, no problem. And then by the time 10 years comes around, there'll probably be some really cheap, really lighter replacement that'll work just as well, or better rather. So, and then the cost on all that stuff comes down. I mean, like lithium battery prices, obviously they went up for a while, but they've come way back down now. So, I think you're seeing prices. So in 10 years, I bet you that same battery pack is probably going to be a quarter of the cost right now, but it'll be newer technology and probably lighter and faster. So, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal to change out the batteries sometime in the future, say in 10 years. So, not too bad there. So, depends on how you want to use the power on there. Greg Oxley, another patron. Can you explain how all your new electric boat differs from an all-electric automobile? Well, this is more like a hybrid. It's more like a Prius. It can use only battery for certain situations, but then it has a generator that kicks on and charges the battery. So it's not like a Tesla that only runs on battery. You got to plug it in every 400 miles or something. This is more like a Prius that can use only battery and when desired. Or in some situations, and it has a generator that kicks on to help it out. Although it doesn't need, like a Prius, will go on the battery alone until 20 miles an hour, and then the generator comes on, and that's how you go faster or whatever. I'm not exactly sure how that works. It might be slightly different, but on this, it's only if you're only going to go 2 or 3 hours or less, 6, whatever, however long you want to go, you don't even need to run the generator at all. Shaderman, can you explain the difference in sailing catamaran versus a standard boat with a keel? The rigging that you showed on the video looked very complicated. Is that due to the cat design, two holes, wide design, etc., or is it just just all of the automatic features on the boat? So traditional sailboat monohull has a keel for several different reasons. Mostly it's to keep the balance of the boat. So the wind would be pushing the boat, say, one way, and then the keel, as it raises up, will want to push the boat back down the other way. So there's the weight, and it kind of counterbalances the sail. So it helps you sail more upright rather than just pushing the boat over with the wind. And two, it kind of acts like a rudder to keep the boat going straight. The fin is the keel is generally, there's lots of different types of keels, but they're all kind of like a shark fin hanging down, that keeps the boat tracking straight. A catamaran doesn't have that first problem. It doesn't need to I mean, because it's inherently balanced. The wind pushing one way on the sail is balanced by the width of the boat. Kind of dig it. It pushes one hull down, while the weight of the other hull pulls it back down the other way. So it's more inherently balanced, and it doesn't heel over. The downside is that you don't have that big fin sticking down under the boat. It does have very small keels that are probably about 1.5 feet or so, maybe not even that much, that hang under each hull. But it's not enough to like keep the boat tracking forward like a rudder. So a catamaran does, especially when you're going into the wind, get pushed a little bit sideways. That's why a monohull can track more into the wind, is because that keel helps keep it going straighter and it doesn't get pushed sideways as much. And so, uh, but there's trade-offs for everything, right? So a monohull can sail higher up into the wind, but a catamaran is going to be more stable, for most of the circumstances. And then the ladies like them more. So you got trade-offs. Keith Smith, fair winds. Hey, he came and he was a patron that won the drawing to come sail with us. Fair winds. How much do you expect to be running the diesel engine on a passage? How much fuel do you think you'll be using, and how much does Maverick hold? Well, I already answered the 265 gallons. I know it's a podcast on this 525, and I know you're on a plate right now, but any ideas on another flotilla in the future? Not yet. I don't know. I gotta see when my boat's being delivered first, so I don't know when the next flotilla will be. But so as far as like how often to use the generator, I think it's gonna depend on what you're doing. I think that, say it's a 20, say there's no wind and we have 150 miles to go. I think it really depends on where we're going to end up. If we're going to end up at anchor somewhere, I will probably, I might run the generator the whole time, just keep the batteries topped off so that I have them when we end up on anchor. I have those batteries if we want to go around somewhere else. Want to go somewhere 2 or 3 hours away, I can just run it on the motors and keep that stuff charged off, and I don't put another cycle on the battery. Really depends. Now, if I'm only going somewhere 2 or 3 hours away, I might just use the electric motors, and there you go. Um, or say we are going somewhere, that's further away, but we're going to pull into a marina, especially if the marina doesn't meter their power, which most of them don't. Not in the, it depends on where you're going. A lot of times in the Caribbean you do, but like in the States, it's generally just a flat fee of $50 or whatever they charge you for power. So then I'll use up all the battery power I can get in there, and then charge them when we get to the dock. So get that free thing. So really, that's something we're gonna have to experiment with, and see what the best uses are. And that's, this boat is the first of its kind, so we're gonna have to experiment with it and see what is the best thing to do. So we'll figure it out. In case of electrical failure, is it possible to run under power? Meaning, can the generator like connect to a shaft and power a propeller? No. There is regeneration, but it's not going to regenerate a whole lot, right? There is regeneration possible. But you have sails as backup power. All right, Charles Bond, will you have wireless steering and engine control capability? So I've already been in contact with what's their name, Yacht Controller. I even put a deposit down for their system, but they're going to have to look at the boat. So this boat will be at the Miami International Boat Show, and they're that Yacht Controller people are based down in, I think, Miami. And so the way they have it's like a remote control where you can control the steering and engine. Well, not the steering, but you can, because once you're in a dock, especially a twin engine boat, you don't use the steering anymore. You're using differential thrust on the engines and a bow thruster if you have it. So I would like to have that system on there. I'm even contemplating putting a bow thruster on it. Haven't needed it so far. It's been pretty easy to dock so far. I've docked it a few times, so I haven't had a problem with it. But I would like to have that on there eventually, so I can just be anywhere on the boat instead of at the helm station when I'm backing it up. Greg asks, hey, Bobby, love the boat. Does it have Wi-Fi and cellular on the boat? So it will have, it should be being delivered any time now. It'll have Starlink, and so it'll have Starlink on the boat, which is Wi-Fi for the boat. So it won't have a cellular booster, just the Starlink, and that's provided by FMC Global. which is kind of a distributor for Starlink. I'll have more information on that system when we get there, or when it gets installed. All right, Craig Barker, if we put in an order for the exact same boat today with the minor corrections y'all plan to make in the next few weeks, can Island Spirit give an estimated cost and build time? I'm assuming they gave you a little better deal as a first hull and for advertising. I'm asking more our cost. So I believe they have 7 orders, 7 boats. Like I think 4 hulls are done. Like 4 of the hulls are out of the mold. Hull number 2, I think will be finished in November. And so then hull number 3 would be, I don't know, they're probably every couple months now. So if you put an order in right now, you might get it by the end of next year. And then by the end of next year, by the middle of next year, yeah, definitely. I think they'll have, if you put an order in right now, you'd have it by the end of next year. Their plan would be to do 12 boats a year. So they're going to end up they're popping out one a month. And I think they'll probably meet that production goal sometime middle of next year. I think they'll be at the point where they are pumping out 1 boat a month. So, so I think yeah, before the end of next year. And how much exactly spec'd out like mine, I'm not 100% sure. I think they're going, like, I'm not sure what the base is. Retail, I'd have to ask. I don't know. I've seen it like on some stuff, but I think it was around 1.5 million. It could be a little more than that now. I'm not sure, but it's something like 1.5, 1.6. That's fully kitted out, like, whatever. All right, Kevin, can you and what's up, man? Can you tell us the price I paid? No, I mean, I paid build cost, and so I can't really reveal what that is. Ivor, fantastic looking boat. You want one? All mod cons. Okay. So my question seems to be nitpicky. Why do you choose gas rather than induction? Okay, for the stove, and do you have a washer dryer on board? So yeah, I kind of was wanting to do induction, and that's something that would be pretty easy to add because there's there's 220 volts going right where that is for the microwave. 230 anyway. It's got a 230 and a 120 connection behind the microwave, so it'd be pretty easy to add the induction if I want to. The builder was just more trying to save battery power, and having gas cooktop, and stove uses less battery power, so that's why they went with that. But anyway, and do I have washer and dryer on board? It wasn't there when I was there, but it is going to be installed anytime now. But yes, I will have one. Dan, beautiful boat, Bobby. Any info seeing it in the Miami Boat Show? Yep. So it'll be there in Miami Boat Show for sure. Like which venue it'll be at and which days. I'm sure it'll be there the whole time. But it'll be at the sailboat part, which is normally right next to the American Airlines Arena. It's right next to that where the Miami Heat play, and that's where that is. You've never been to the show, so if anyone would be great. Looking forward to seeing it. Yeah, the Miami show, it's kind of a pain because they have all the boat sections in different areas. So they have the power boats in one section. They have the convention center, which is on Miami Beach. Then they have the sailboat show, which is in Miami. And then everything's just spread out. It takes a long time to get between venues. I really don't like that part. I wish they put it all in one space, but whatever. All right, Jamie Switcher, he boat broker extraordinaire. Hey, Bobby, as I've shared before, my concerns are centered on having bulletproof systems on your vessel. The voltages you're dealing with the propulsion systems, the generator output are quite lethal. Well, it's pretty standard for, all EVs and stuff like that are running at 480 volts. So, you'd be interested in knowing the testing protocols used to validate the systems. It's like the guy, I forget the name of the company that's doing all the EV part of it, but I mean, that's their business. They mostly do it, I think, for buses. So that company, I think, does electrified buses over there. So they're dealing with the same stuff. Just adapted it for marine versions. I'm familiar with the folks on the committees to rewrite standards for ABCY compliance and yacht. Is this okay? Yacht construction in the U.S. Is this vessel built to the same standards? Yes, it's CE. It's being CE certified right now. While I was there, a CE inspector came out and did some inspections, and they're still, doing, providing the paperwork to prove everything. But yeah, they'll have that. There are issues with lithium-ion batteries catching fire in vehicles that have been immersed in salt water. There's no practical way to extinguish those fires. Yeah, it does have a. They are going to put the batteries in. They're going to make everything watertight in watertight housings for all the batteries. So they're going to do that more than they have them now. And yeah, just keep salt water out. That's the main thing. And it does have, I forget, it's not halon, but it's some kind of foam. It's like expanding foam that's supposed to help with treating in battery fires for lithium. So what is the chemistry? I'm not sure. I mean, it's the same stuff. I believe it's the same cells they use in Teslas. Also, spares. As manufacturer of all these systems, I've suggested a list of spares to carry on board. Yeah, he's going to give me a decent amount. Yeah, I mean, some of this stuff is a little technical beyond my scope plus my knowledge. So I'm a huge fan of having dedicated storage containers, pellets, and modules that are waterproof for spares and repairs and maintenance kit. Yep, we'll do all that stuff. Also, will the boat manufacturers supply you with a digital and hard copy of each of the tech service folks? Yes, they got all that on board already, and they're going to have a very long owner's manual for the boat because the systems are so technical. Congrats, buddy. All right, thank you. Glenn Goodall, would placing the batteries under the beds be a safety issue? Well, I was mistaken on that. I thought they were going to move them all forward. They're going to move the one battery pack all the way forward, so they're going to put that under the forward cockpit in the seating there. Has the boat got an inside helm like the Try you and Stephanie sailed on? On a personal note, when are you man getting hitched, Jackie and Glenn? Yeah, so they hadn't installed it yet, but they're going to put a another B&G control unit, a chart plotter downstairs, and actually they're probably going to put it in my cabin or in the aft cabin, so that I can kind of keep track there. But yeah, I'll have one there, and it's pretty simple to put a remote there for that. Let's see here. All right, Phil and Amanda. Hi, Bobby. We met you at the marina and saw your lovely new boat. All right, sweet. We have been looking at Lagoon 46 or a Leopard 45. Seems your boat has some of the best features of both. Do you know what sort of price range the 525 will come in at? Somewhere around 1.5 million. I'm not 100% sure, but it's around there. Depending on what options. Yeah, I think the electrical option is an upgrade. So it's if you wanted combustion engines, it'd be a little bit less. All right, Bennett. I love the concept, design, and effort you have put into this. My concern and questions have to do with the construction crew moving the batteries forward and considering locating them under the staterooms. Well, they're not going to go into the stateroom, so would it be fair to say that these batteries are located originally to be out of those areas for a reason? And number two, would you feel comfortable sleeping on top of the batteries? Well, they're not going to put them there. They're going to move it. So they're going to leave the two aft ones that are in what would be the engine compartments. They're going to leave those there, and the one that's in the middle seat, that's still pretty far. It's actually even further aft than those other batteries. They're going to move that all the way forward on the other side of the boat. So moving 1,000 pounds that way should really put a lot more weight forward. So, Daryl, you said you were going to cross some oceans. Love to join sometime. Do you have current plans of when and where? Not 100%. So it really depends on how much time we want to spend in the Caribbean and Central America. So current plan, leave Miami in February, go down to the Caribbean, do a lap of that, and maybe if we're going to, I don't know, in the summer, like June or so, take the boat to like Panama and haul it out for the summer there and go through the canal either before or after haul out, probably, I don't know, one of the two. And then, do the other side of Central America that fall, and then across the South Pacific in March of 26. Current plan depends on how much we want to stay in the Caribbean. How much depends on how much time we want to spend in the Caribbean. The problem is once you cross the South Pacific, like if you skip some stuff in the Caribbean or in Central America, you're not getting back there for a long time. So you got to finish your circumnavigation before you're seeing that again. So it really depends on how much time we want to spend in the Caribbean before we cross. So it'd be either March of 26 or March of 27 cross the South Pacific and then head west. William, one more question for me. You said you were planning to circumnavigate the gold globe. Yep. What exactly makes a boat able to be called a circumnavigating boat? Is it size, range, or other? I'm not sure exactly. It's up to you, man. I know guys that have cross the South Pacific on a 23-foot boat, a little monohull. And then, it's up to you. What makes a good circumnavigating boat is just redundant systems, right? So we got batteries and we have generators and solar and all that stuff and just extra pumps and, all that stuff, redundancy. I mean, like if you're going to cross oceans, a lot of people like to have two autopilots, stuff like that. You just want good, solid, redundant systems, and that makes the best system there. And so having lots of spares and ways to fix things, and knowing how to fix it. Let's see here, William. Again, let's see here. Congrats on an amazing boat. In one of your videos, you talked about replacing the sails every 10 years or so, I believe. Any idea how often you would have to replace the batteries on electric boats like this? I know batteries have a certain number of recharges in them before they can no longer hold a charge, like my current cell phone, unfortunately. Yeah. Thanks in advance for all your answers. Yeah, I mean, 10 years is probably a good, for the lithium batteries too. I was just watching a video the other day on the internet on YouTube, and it was a Tesla that had like 450,000 miles, and they were just kind of checking it out. I mean, seeing how the batteries and all that. And I believe even after, I don't remember how many, several thousand cycles on the batteries, they were still like 85%, good. And that was on a Tesla. That was on a Tesla that was 8 years old or something like that. So, I mean, 10 years on the batteries, but in 10 years, I mean, the costs will probably be down to 25% of what they are now. And there'll be some new technology that'll be lighter and easier and safer and all that stuff. So, I mean, in 10 years, you probably shouldn't have to overhaul your motor in 10 years, but you might, so if you might have to, replacing, say they put a 75 horsepower motor in there, that's gonna be 25 or 30 grand to replace that motor or have it overhauled. Well, not that much. If you're gonna replace it, it could be. Okay, Kevin. She's an awesome cat, Bobby. You had me really thinking of a Neil 48, but this island spirit takes the cake. I can't wait to see you guys in the Bahamas or the Caribbean. Yeah. Well, the Neil is a pretty nice boat. I mean, there's trade-offs for every boat, right? There's no such thing as a perfect boat. There's the one you have, right? I really like the catamaran, but I mean that Neil is nice too. But this one's there's a little more living space on this boat than there is on that Neil. So that's kind of why, especially for guests and things like that. Like on that Neil 47 rather. I like the main deck living area, and the master cabin's nice, but then the second and third cabins are absolutely tiny. Wouldn't be too comfortable to live on or have people on. So yeah. All right, Schmoops, Adventures. Only question is, when can we have a sail from Key West to Isla Mujeres? Well, I don't know. We'll see if we go there. But yeah, we'll come sailing sometime. Mark Kresner, you mentioned adding isinglass on the bridge deck. I didn't see a second helm station. Will you be able to get from the cabin to the bridge in inclement weather without getting soaked? Well, so you can access the the bridge, fly bridge, from either the port side or the starboard side. So go up, depends on which way the wind's blowing. No, you can't get technically up into the helm station staying dry if you had to, but stay on the leeward side and you get less wet going up there. But yeah. All right, Mark asked again. I saw the radar mounted mid-mast. Will this cause blind spots in a 360 sweep? Yeah, I mean, directly aft behind you, you won't be able to see like directly aft behind you. But I mean, that's pretty standard on most boats. You'll occasionally see one you're still gonna have that problem. I mean, there's sometimes they'll mount a radar like aft of everything, but it's still gonna have the gear in front of it. So you're always gonna have some kind of blind spot. I'd prefer my blind spot was like directly behind me though. But okay. If it was a really tiny cell directly behind you, it could sneak up on you, but odds of that happening are not real likely. All right, Mark. Does the 525E have escape hatches on the bottom of the sponsons in case of a roller? Yes, it does. So underneath the stairs, you just lift up the stairs, and there's two hatches there. I think that's a certification thing. Do you have Skyhook GPS capability like on that Tech Wizard bad boy? So that's like where it'll hold position. No. No. I don't think there'd be any real need for that. Um, I'm sure you could probably figure out some way to do it if you really wanted to, but on a boat like that, I mean, like the center consoles are more likely to need something like that. That's why you see them a lot. But on this boat, I wouldn't think you need it. That's just like a skyhook. It'll hold your position using differential thrust on the motors and all that stuff. But the skyhook. But the thing is, on the skyhook stuff, those engines can turn too, and yeah, I don't think so. Why don't I see bow thrusters on a 525 cat that weighs 19 ton and has huge side profile? Please tell me I'm missing something. Um, yeah, I mean that's something I'm thinking about adding. Honestly, is and the yacht controller people were talking about doing that. So when it gets to the Miami Boat Show, I'm thinking about adding that. I'm thinking about adding it. If I can come up with a cost effective way of doing it, I would consider doing that. I've tried to reach out to Jet Thrusters. I know that at one point in time they were talking about a sponsorship, but I'm not sure what happened to them. I looked them up the other day, but Larry responded to him. You will need them sooner than later when coming into a slip, tide, and winds pushing you around on all that exposed windage on the hull of the cabin. Yeah, I mean that's why I would do it. Honestly, is only for docking and higher winds. But Smoops says, yeah, the differential thrust on a cat is more than enough. The hulls are so far apart. I mean, that is true. You do get the hulls are so far apart. You can steer the boat a little better than on a traditional, even twin engine, trawler or something like that. Yeah, I mean, it'd just be easier to have a bow thruster. Sometimes, like if there's strong wind pushing you on the dock. It'd be nice to just kind of a bow thruster to kind of push you out. Plus, like with the yacht controller stuff, they have you can have a bow thruster on there, and then I don't know, the way they have the yacht controller thing is it'll have a virtual stern thruster where it I don't know, it puts the port engine at 50% and the starboard engine in reverse at 30%, which makes the boat, the stern of the boat go out at the same time as the bow with the bow thruster, so you can just kind of sidestep it. So there's ways of doing that, which I would like to do. It's just a matter of getting the technology to work. Swede Pilot. Basically, the winds have the same build time as you, but they seem to have a lot more to say and personalization over the entire build. Plus, basically, the winds have the same build time as you, but they seem to have a lot more say and personalization over the entire build, plus much more time with the builders than you. Was this a YouTube edit decision process, or was this a boat yard decision because of the purchase agreement? I went to the shipyard, I think, twice while it was under construction, and I definitely gave my opinions and input. But for the most part, I didn't want to nitpick and micromanage. I didn't want to hover over the builder's shoulder and be like, hey, are you doing this? Are you doing that? I mean, I trust the builder. I've known him for a long time. Island Spirit, worked with them for 7 years, really. And it was their boat. I sailed across the South Pacific, and so they really know what they're doing. And I think almost all the decisions they made are pretty nice. So I'm not too worried about it. It was just I didn't want to be at the yard all the time nitpicking and all that stuff. Greg Donner, sail material, and curious why you don't put the tension monitors on the standing rigging that send info on the monitor so you can read the loads. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, just what is this? What is that stuff called? I don't know, Dacron or something. We just went with the middle of the road sail. Yeah, honestly, I don't remember what we agreed on. I think it was Dacron and something else. But just standard cruising sails. I mean, they're more for durability than for performance and reducing stretch in the main because putting that in and out. And tension monitors. Yeah, I haven't. Man, I mean, I haven't really ever. I've never actually seen one on a sailboat. Tension monitors on the rigging. I mean, no boat I've ever sailed has them on there. So I don't know. I don't think they're too common. It might be an expense thing. I'm not sure. You mentioned regeneration from the propellers under sail. Will it produce a lot of drag? How much energy are you recuperating with that? Is it significant? I'm not criticizing, just curious. Yeah, so we haven't done the regeneration yet. That's going to be a thing we have to experiment with. And actually, the builder has been talking to Sharrow. I think those are the people that made the toroidal propellers because they're so much more efficient, and they're trying to see if because because they're electric engines at 6 knots. I can't remember exactly now. But at 6 knots, we're only doing 500 RPM. And at 8 knots, we're doing like 750 RPM or 700. I think it was 700. Yeah, it was 700 RPM at 8 knots. So very low RPM because it's electric motors are more efficient at the lower speeds, whereas an internal combustion engine might be doing 2,500 RPMs at 8 knots. So it's about an efficiency with that. So we're talking about putting those Sharrow props in there to see if that, because they're getting like 20% boost in efficiency. Is that even feasible at the lower RPM? So they got to figure that out. And then again, you put those kind of props on there. Are they efficient at all with the regeneration? We don't know. One thing we did play around with when we were sailing is that I would so when we were underway sailing, number one, you couldn't hear it, so I would have the electric engines on, and they're making no noise at all. So if I had the engines in neutral, the propellers would still be spinning at like 250 RPM when we're under sail, right? That means just the drag of the boat going through the water is spinning those props at 250 RPM. We didn't have the regen enabled because it's a software thing, and they're still testing everything. But what we did play with is then at 200, it was doing 250 RPM. So I just increased the throttles on the engines to 250 RPM. So it did actually, but it pulled very little power doing that because it was only like a couple amps, a couple amps at 480 volts. I mean, so we're talking less than 1,000 watts of power out of the 210 kilowatt battery bank, right? So nothing, less than 1%. And that did give us a little bit more speed, even though it's only pulling like 1 or 2 amps. I think it was negligible. It was like very little power. But that is having the motors turn the props at 250 RPM rather than and just the drag spinning them. And so you reduce your drag. And so I think we did increase speed by about half a knot. So we're no longer, and it's okay. Is it worth the, less than 1,000 watts to, reduce, give you an extra half a knot and reduce all that drag? So we're playing with that. So it's something we're working on. Darren, what were the considerations and reasoning for the end mast furling? The sail life is way shorter than conventional setups. Yes. Convenience. I mean, if you're only going a short distance, like, oh man, do I really want to open the sail bag, haul the sails all the way up and do all that if I was only going to be sailing for an hour, right? And whereas this, you hit a button, the sails are out, boom, you're sailing. So yeah, the sail life is shorter, but it depends on how much you use them, right? I mean, and it's so much easier to do. So much easier. So if it's so much easier, then you're probably going to use them more. So that was my rationale on that. Larry says, I had the Selden mast furling system, not the synchronized outhaul, too bad, and the vertical battens on your 44 monohull. I took the sails off each winter, lay up and reinstalled them in the spring. In 10 years, very little wear and tear. Easy to handle, especially when I need to furl the sail in a hurry. Almost no flapping. So much better than having a mast track and all the attendant problems with the slides. Yeah, that's exactly right, Larry. I mean, it's so much easier to use in-mast furling, so you're going to use it more often, and it's faster and easier to use. So that's why I did that. You do just have to mind your sails a little more and keep them in good shape. So taking them off for the winter if you're going to be gone for a while or whatever. Bill, it's a beautiful boat, Bobby. That's an awful lot of electronics. How much do you think the salt air exposed will affect them? Are the lithium battery banks expensive to have replaced? Well, I'm hoping I don't have to worry about that for about 10 years with the battery banks. And by then, I mean, I can't imagine they'll be very expensive. And, do you think the salt air and water will expose them? So where the batteries are going to be completely sealed off. So hopefully that won't be an issue. So that's part of the reason they're water cooled, is that you're not going to be blowing air through there. So there's, you're not going to be, and there's, when I say water cooled, I mean, it's like antifreeze going through there, right? And so you're not going to have air blowing through there, which have salt air and all that. So they're going to be sealed off from everything else. Hopefully that won't be an issue. Darren says, you're having the engine batteries moved more forward. Did the engineers not do a weight and balance calculation as part of the design? It's what they do when designing an aircraft. Yeah, I mean they did, and they say they were estimating it would be an issue. They just wanted to see how it floats first. So they put them in there like, yeah, okay, we need to move them forward. They're going to move forward. BMC says how, and this is the last one, thankfully, because I can't talk anymore. How did y'all first plan the construction of your boat? How long was the build process? So start to finish was about 2 years. I'm not sure how long they've been planning it beforehand, but most of that delay was just getting the right people and all that. It was supposed to be, they were supposed to be finished about this time last year. But they'd made a lot of changes. They did a lot of upgrades to their factory and stuff like that. So that was part of the delayed. But they're planning to get out. They're planning to build about 12 boats a year. So they're going to knock one out every. I think they said they can have 5 of them in process at one time. So I'm not sure how long it'll take them start to finish now. But I think they said like 9 months. So they'll greatly increase the efficiency and all that. All right, well, I can barely talk anymore. Thank you guys for watching. About an hour now anyway. And hopefully I answered all your questions about the new Island Spirit 525. There's a link down in the description. If you'd like more information about it, you can contact those guys. And please tell them you saw it on Sailing Doodles, because I do get a referral from it, so that helps me out considerably. I will be at the Annapolis Boat Show coming up. We have a patron meetup there on Friday, so a patron and channel member. So if you would like to come hang out with us, Amanda and Lauren will be there, and we'd love to see you guys there. We're already taking RSVPs from our patrons, so and then I'll also put a link in the description to ticket sales for the Annapolis Boat Show. We get a couple bucks if you buy one through us. I appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you there. And then the boat will be at the Miami Boat Show. We will do a little presentation on the Island Spirit 525 at the boat show. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching, and catch you on the next podcast.